Curious about what we do in designing awesome warps? We're going to give you a little taste, starting here with a project that inspired this class in many ways. From Sweden in 1981, we did this proportioning bit with strips of colored paper, and then we did windings and paintings in different colorways. And you can see this is the dress I made that goes with that bottom colorway, which has been a great dress for me all these years. We do a mini version of this in class. We're going to do this proportioning and color windings with different colorways. But then that leads us to windings in general. You could pick a color palette, which is what we've done here, and do different windings with that same color palette. But then what do you do from there? Let's take a look at some options. You could do a runner or that same warp. You could spread it out in the reed and do a little plaid cloth. Or you could do, of course, a bigger plaid cloth. Or what if you take that same bigger plaid cloth and superimpose a block design on top? This is in Vävstuga. We go over a lot of different structures and how you can apply them to your various stripe designs and other designs. Or this is just fabric with the one stripe. It's not symmetrical this time. It's just repeats of the asymmetrical stripe. And there are lots of other things on this sheet. I have a few mock-ups. Here's a potential rep placemat. And here's a potential satin blanket. I'll show you, we're going to rep next, but I'll show you a little bit of these. A different block design. And so we just talk about all the different options you have, even once you have a simple stripe. Talking about color windings with yarns, here are two compatible color windings that I did to design a rep weave. And that's something that we learn how to do in class. You can see one of these windings lines up with that stripe, and then that lines up with this stripe. We learn the method over here just with plain colored paper, a simple way to design a rep, or you could make stripes just with crayons and do the same designing technique. So we go through all of this, and you go home with several completed design sheets like this in your notebook with their project sheets ready to go right to the loom with. Another way we design stripes during class is with colored papers, and we have lots of resources for you to play with, and this is a great way to do it. You can see one thing I did with this design is this blanket here. But another thing I did with this design, and I will do this with you at the computer, we can turn it different which ways, and that makes a very cool blanket in this case. And so we can actually turn any of your stripes into a design like this. Here is a fun set of napkins. Looks like 6 different napkins, all compatible, similar colorway. Let me show you a little bit about the design process for those that we're going to do here in class. These were painted designs, picking one colorway in the linen yarn. But then we're going to look at these two. Looks like 2 different napkins, right? Well, what happens when I open them up? Ta-da! It's the same napkin, just depends on how you fold it. And these two here were the same warp. These were the same warp. So 3 different warps, but 6 different napkins. And you can see this one, if I turn it this way, I chose this little one here. I chose just to do it asymmetrically. Here's just another example of a really different colorway and the paintings to go with it. You can see the process of just adding stripes here and there, and it just kind of grows under your eyes, and you can come out with some patterns like this. And then there are a whole group of kinds of weave structures that are really suited to this coloring method that I like so much. You can see these are all bits and pieces, in this case of monk's belt for designing. I have an example here of plot vev, similar kind of mix and match of little patterns, and a resource sheet that we give you for a jumping off place for various plot vev patterns, and a jumping off page where you can actually put your pattern in and your own colors and proportions. So we coach you through this whole process. So these colored pencils are another great design tool. I'll show you some more examples here. This is a sample coloring page that we give you for Smolans Vev. And then these are some pages where I did mix and match my little pieces and made some different designs. And if you look at this design here, this green one, you can see it lines up with the cloth that's on the table. And I also have this piece here that you can see is similar to this one. It's not identical, but it was from the same coloring session. We also, as part of the class, will be talking about sets and spend some time learning how to decide how close together to put your warp threads for what structures, and referring to these set charts, which are actually available for anybody online at this point. And we give you template project sheets to get you started in a lot of different projects, all the ones and even probably a few more than you've just seen. And this is a great resource. You're not going to have time to fill them all out here in class, but you get to take them all home for future projects. And one other fun thing that is an important design tool is designing a warp right at the warp mill. Tanya and I, over the years, have designed all of these that way. And sometimes you'll just design something right at the warp mill that you'd never design on paper and with numbers and with planning. And so we take a look at that and other techniques at the warping mill too that are pretty interesting. We will learn how to do. And so we know, at least I know for myself, that designing can be a little bit intimidating and it's hard to get going on a project, but with the right tools, which we give you here, and encouragement and the camaraderie, you spend the week making designs that you never thought were possible, and you really go home with the tools to make your own designs and start weaving wonderful projects at the loom. So we really hope that you're going to join us.